Hello, I'm Signe Myers-Hovum, and welcome to From My Perspective, a video series that focuses on energy awareness and how we connect to ourselves, each other, and nature. Connections are first and foremost energetic, and in part 2 of this 3-part video series, I want to share my perspective of where sympathy and empathy emerge from a person's energetic self. Everything is energy. Our language, and specifically prepositions, let us navigate and have a spatial relationship with ourselves and our environment. Thus I can say inside and outside of myself as a reference point to frame a discussion about my thoughts and feelings. Sympathy and empathy are examples of energetic loops between inside and outside. The loop starts when we witness or observe something outside of ourselves. An easy way to demonstrate how sympathy and empathy connects us to others and our environment is to imagine this loop is created by a thread and a needle. The threaded needle travels the line to what we are focused upon. It then loops back to ourselves for processing and assessing what do we think or feel about the event, which is typically based on 1. Our own personal life experiences, 2. Our level of self-awareness and our ability to see ourselves in others, 3. Our emotional availability, 4. What our cultural expectations are for social conduct. If we are merely observing the event as a detail, the loop is more or less like a single stitch. If we are motivated to respond, we are no longer observing, but we are witnessing the event or the person. A second loop or stitch is completed when we become internally motivated to connect to the event and person outside of ourselves through either sympathy or empathy. This is the dynamic that is occurring between inside and outside. But I want to orient you to another preposition, within. We are energy, and within our energy system, our conscience and our consciousness flows through systems which animate our physical reality. By looking at within the energy system, we can see what type of thread the needle is working with in creating connections with the outside world. One of the energy systems is called the Chakra System. Our physical body has 7 chakra centers that are dispersed from the top of our head to our sacrum at the bottom of our tailbone. Each chakra presents themes by which we know ourselves and our sense of belonging. We also have 4 subtle energy bodies that process and hold our perceptions related to our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. You can think of them as smart folders that only hold specific aspects of your perception. They are more than this, but for this discussion about sympathy and empathy, this will work. The lower 3 chakras, the root, the navel, and the solar plexus, reflect our physical reality, with the 4th chakra at the heart considered the bridge between our physical reality and our spiritual sensibilities, which operate out of the top 3 chakras, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. Each of the 4 subtle bodies are associated with one of the lower 4 chakras. The first, or root chakra, houses your perceptions of your family or clan, and the worldview of safety and scarcity of resources, and or the abundance of those resources. The physical subtle body is associated with the root chakra. The second, or the navel chakra, is about partnerships and relationships that support creative and procreative endeavors. This is also our emotional center. When we are emotionally overwhelmed, we tend to want to curl up and protect our underbelly. This is what the fetal position does. The emotional subtle body is associated with the navel chakra, and cultivating empathy is part of the emotional subtle body. It is emotive and creative and can produce a visceral feeling when empathizing with something outside of ourselves that is similar in nature to what we experienced. This visceral feeling comes from our physical body, contributing to a sensory memory. When we see someone else going through a similar experience, this reconnects us to our own experience, and then we can empathize with the other person. Empathy's thread and needle originates from the emotional subtle body, and the seamstress or the tailor's work is dependent on how well the past experience has been processed and accepted by the person. If the person is triggered and empathizes too much, the energetic loop opens up boundary issues, and rather than be supportive to someone else, the individual is left with their own memory. The third chakra is known as the solar plexus, and here is where we develop our individualism. We went from a clan in the root chakra to a partnership in the second chakra to an individual in the third. Self-esteem, self-worth, self-acceptance are all honed here in the solar plexus. Part of gaining an identity is through comparing and judging ourselves against others. We learn what the rules of conformity and how to fit in. We rationalize, we use logic and reason to understand ourselves and can construct our philosophy of life. The mental body is associated with this chakra, and sympathy is extended from the mental subtle body. If we understand from a rational standpoint that an event has impacted another, even though we may not have personally experienced it, our mental body can sympathize with another and allow us a point of connection. The needlework of sympathy comes from the mental subtle body. But remember, this is also the chakra center that is developing an identity, and at different developmental stages, it is running judgment to compare and contrast. The needlework here can get sharp and prickly with judgment that is created with elements of pity and shame as the mental body examines a situation before it and assesses how it could have done it differently. This can be experienced as a connection that expresses sympathy but also adds in unsolicited advice. When sympathy and empathy are left on their own to offer connections, this is when the messages of condolences and comfort can sometimes be a bit rough and feel like boundaries aren't safeguarded. That's not to demean them or diminish their efforts. It is good to have the awareness, though, of what quality of connection and support you are creating within your relationships. I have said in part 1 of this series that sympathy and empathy are special agents to compassion, and this is the focus of the final installment of the series. Join me in part 3 and learn more about transforming sympathy and empathy into compassion. This has been From My Perspective. For more resources, visit my website at www.smhovem.com. Also, you can pre-order my book, The Space in Between, an Impasse Field Guide, available October 12th, 2021 through all major book distributors.